Charles, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, DA. How you doing?
I'm doing great, my man. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
So, coming out of the combine, people were blown away by Saquon Barkley. Seeing him
Yeah.
in person, were you blown away by his feats of strength and agility?
I anticipated him being terrific. It's rare that guys can go to the combine and exceed what you expect, and he actually did it. And I say it that way, DA, because it's not like we haven't seen his feats of strength, right? That's been videoed. What's the term? Viral.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with him with the power clean of 405 and squatting 6. You know, we've seen these things. Then if you watched any type of ball all year, whether you watch tape or just watch the games, you saw him do amazing things. But to actually quantify it, put a watch on it, and then have it appear next to all the other elite guys going into the draft and see the numbers he put up, you know, it's an interesting thing sometimes. Like they say, you can take numbers and make them what you want. But it was interesting to see that his bench press was bigger than elite offensive tackles in the league, right? His 40 time better than elite wide receivers. You know what I'm talking about. To put it all together like that was a show and a half as far as I'm concerned. Really, it was 2 shows.
So, yeah, let's take out the question about what the Browns should do at number 1. Yeah. Is he the best football player in the draft?
I think so. I thought so going into it. I thought so at the beginning of the season. He did nothing to change that for me. I think that, you can make an argument for other guys, and rightly so. But if you're asking one person, I think that he is unquestionably the number 1 player in this draft.
So it now begs the question then, if he is the number 1 player in the draft, maybe you can't afford to pass on him, but you need a quarterback. Does it make sense in your mind for the Browns to take Saquon number 1, and then whatever the best quarterback available is at number 4, select him?
It makes sense on one level because then you win the draft, right? You win day 1, don't you, DA? You got the number 1 player in the draft, and you got a quarterback. So you checked all your boxes. But what if it's a quarterback that you absolutely didn't have on your board, or when I say, let me rephrase that you didn't have in the top 1 or 2 on your board, the one that you're convinced fits the best with you, the one that interviewed best with you, and you feel like you're going to fit your new culture, which with the Browns is like every year, right? You're hitting the reset button, but here you are with John Dorsey, the GM, who's a legitimate guy. I've never been into mafia, obviously. I've watched enough bad movies, but John Dorsey would be a made guy in the NFL. Okay, he's the legit item. Hugh Jackson now has that person next to him. The ownership has to feel like, okay, we finally have a person there. We're not trying a grand experiment. So all those things make sense. But to me, the Browns have swung and missed so many times. I think I said it tongue-in-cheek, and I did say it on air multiple times. Maybe they ought to take a quarterback at 1 and 4 because they've got to get it right. At some point, they've got to absolutely get it right. I would find the one that I'm convinced is my guy, and I know Barkley is a big, big deal. But unless I'm swinging some sort of a deal below me at 4 to make sure I can somehow maybe get back to 2 and get the quarterback I want, I would have heavy discussions about that. Because Barkley makes your team better, no question. He makes whoever your quarterback is. But you're talking about you want that quarterback now for the next 10 years that they haven't had since legitimately Bernie Kosar, because Tim Couch would have been, save for injuries. Okay, I hate when people call him a bust. Tim Couch got the you-know-what beat out of him on the expansion team. He would have been a big-time quarterback in my humble opinion. It just didn't work out.
Charles Davis joins us here on the show, NFL Network, NFL on Fox. He was at the Combine all weekend long. When you walked away from the Combine, was there one quarterback that impressed you more than the others?
Because I can't sit in the meeting rooms, that's the biggest mystery for me. But what I saw on field, throwing the football, I thought Josh Allen helped himself, and not with the deep ball. We knew he had a strong arm. Did he maybe exceed that? Yeah, because, he launched that last one, DA, and I'm still waiting for that bad boy to come down. His arm is unquestioned. But I thought he threw with touch. I thought he threw with lightness. I thought Baker Mayfield was very good in the throwing drills. I thought Lamar Jackson did everything to tell people I'm going to be a quarterback, and I support him totally in that. And then I thought he did everything to make sure the ball didn't hit the ground, and I didn't feel like he turned it loose throwing it. I felt like he aimed it, and it's like I'd rather have completions than go through it and let it rip. That's what it felt like to me. But I didn't think he was alone in that. DA, if you go back and pop on the tape and watch the quarterback drops, which is what everyone wants to see. They want to see him go through normal quarterback things, right? But these kids are so concerned with the ball being caught, and I understand why. It's not a criticism. It's just an understanding that so those were some of the slowest dropbacks. That was like me running a 40. Josh Rosen did 5-step drops. The young man at UCLA, who I think is the best pure thrower in the draft, he did 5-step drops and barely got 5 yards deep. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
These guys were just making sure that they were set up and throwing the football, and some of that defeated the purpose. But I thought Mayfield was exactly as I think he is, extremely accurate with a better arm than you probably expect. Allen has the biggest gun going, but I thought he showed some nice touch throwing the ball. Josh Rosen is Josh Rosen. Deep ball, intermediate, short. He actually skipped one and laughed about it because that's like a unicorn for him. It's very, very rare. So Lamar Jackson, as I mentioned before, he has everything I think you need to be a quarterback. But I think he was very concerned with that ball not hitting the ground and him looking like he was completing passes. So you put it all together, Darnold didn't throw. I don't know if it was a sore arm. I don't know that he just didn't want to throw in front of scouts, whatever it is. These other guys got a chance to fill the breach, and I thought that they did.
Charles Davis joins us after covering the Combine for NFL Network. On that point about Lamar Jackson, he caught some criticism from people that said, well, why wouldn't you just work out at wide receiver as well? That could help your stock at a different position, make you more valuable. To me, it didn't make any sense to work out at wide receiver. If you want to be a quarterback and you're going to be drafted in the first 2 rounds anyway as a quarterback, why not just participate as a quarterback? Do you think he hurt himself at all by not being open-minded to being a wideout?
No, I didn't think so. And my colleague at NFL Network and Fox, Peter Schrager, made a nice little report where he said, 2 GMs. And listen, here's how it works, DA. At the Combine, if more than one team requests a player to work out at another position, that request goes to, that request is out there and the player can act on it if he so chooses, okay? So the report got skewed by other people to say that they went directly to Lamar and asked him to work out, and he said no. I'm not sure he ever actually got the full message about whether to work out at receiver. That's why he said no one's asked me, because remember, he doesn't have an agent. He's
right.
acting as his own person, okay? So when you put it all together, some of that stuff got a little overblown, but I'm totally with you on this. Look, I think he could be a big-time receiver in the league because he's so darn athletic. He wants to be a quarterback. Well, what he's done in college, to me, has allowed him to say, I want to be a quarterback only. He has earned that right. And he underscored it by not doing any of the other physical drills at the Combine. Not because he flat out didn't want to or he was hurt. I think that was his message of saying, quarterback, folks, quarterback. And guess what? On his pro day, I bet he goes through all the other stuff and blows it away. And you know something? If he had gone ahead and done that, because I bet he would have run below 4.5, right? I bet he would have verticaled great. I bet he would have done all this other stuff. We'd be talking about his athleticism instead of him as a quarterback. And I think that that's what he wanted to eliminate. Yeah, he'll have to do it at his pro day, but DA, it's not the same cameras at the pro day. It's not the same attention. It's not Mike Mayock and Rich Eisen breaking you down and Daniel Jeremiah and, all of that just goes continuously over time. It's a one-day, 24-hour, and he's out of there. And I think that was probably the smart play for him.
Well, and painting Lamar Jackson as stubborn for some reason, to me, also is missing the mark, because if he was not going to get drafted at quarterback and he wasn't open to being a wide receiver, he said, well, you might not even make it as a quarterback. I could understand people saying, hey, you should be open-minded. This guy's going to get drafted either the first round or the top half of the second round at quarterback, right? So why would he bother working out at a different position?
Yeah, I agree totally. And, we can turn it around and think of some of the dual guys that have come out recently and how many of them have faced the same exact scrutiny that Lamar Jackson has. DA, I was on record. I mean, you could probably find it in your vault of tapes, you and I talking. When Dak Prescott was a junior, we probably had a conversation where I said, I think he might be a tight end or an H-back on the next level. And then we probably had the same conversation as a senior, and I said he's the most improved quarterback I saw in the country in terms of the senior, and he deserved every right to be a quarterback first. That's what guys do. They work on their game. They improve. Christian Hackenberg would be the one that, like I've told people, I'm never going to get invited to the Hackenberg reunion, and I don't mean it to, and this is not a personal thing. But I never once, when I watched him throw the football as he progressed from his freshman year through his senior year, my questions started to really leap up. Freshman year, look, we were all in on him. Remember, DA? Freshman year, we were like,
loved him.
The number one pick in the draft.
Yep.
And by the time he was a senior, he was skipping swing passes. So his accuracy issues, and I could hear their camp saying, hold a second, what about Josh Allen's accuracy issues? If I find Josh Allen on tape skipping swing passes, I'll come back and have that conversation. I don't see those, okay? His are footwork. He's a big strider at times. He's a tall kid. Work on that and try and get it done. Here's the other part. He gets you major chunks of yardage downfield. So sometimes you'll sacrifice a few percentage points for bigger plays downfield. Worked pretty well for Terry Bradshaw, my colleague at Fox, didn't it?
Pretty well, yeah. Hall of Fame, 4 championships.
Yeah, you got to build a team like that. Don't get me wrong. You don't just throw it just to throw it. But you know what I'm talking about. And so I think that Josh has that opportunity. But I didn't see the things in his game to liken him to when Christian Hackenberg came out, where it was so uncertain about where it was going. I was worried about that. And I know, I feel like I'm piling on this young man. I feel awful about it because it's not my intent at all. But I have to stand by my evaluation. And so far, I think my evaluation's been on target because the Jets won't even play him.
Kick it on the field. They don't trust him on the field. Final question is going to be about Shaq.
I don't know what else to say to that. I hate that. I hope he does get his opportunity soon.
Yeah. Final question about Shaq Griffin. This young man is an amazing story. This young man is an amazing man. He had an amazing combine. Is he an amazing story, or can he be a linebacker in the NFL with one hand?
He can be a linebacker in the NFL with one hand, DA, and this isn't me just now wanting to advance the story and wishful thinking. You know, you go back to preseason, you know, this is going to sound a lot like, you know, me breaking my arm, pat myself on the back, but I live in Orlando, okay? I live in that area, so I've seen this kid for a while, even though I can't go to his games live. You know, that's your area, that's your community, you get all that news, right? The kid 2 years ago was the American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
They don't just hand that out like a participation trophy now. He put numbers up. And remember, he was a kid who didn't play essentially his first 3 years there. Redshirting, couldn't get on the field as a safety. In fact, in 2014 or whatever, when UCF opened against Penn State in Ireland, whatever year that was, he played in that opener in Ireland. He didn't play another game. Now think about that. So when the staff changed, and now here comes Scott Frost and Eric Schneider, the defense coordinator, he went in and said, look, I want to get on the field. What can I do? What can I try? And they switched him from safety to outside linebacker, and less than a week later he's running first team, and he never looked back. So the kid can play. This isn't a matter of he cannot play. Now, how much do you buy into certain things? Do you wonder if he has to play on one side because of the hand? Do you wonder if he can take on blocks? Do you wonder all those things? Fine. Turn on the tape and watch. Because if he had both hands, DA, the only discussion we're having is what round. That's all we're talking about. This kid can play, and I think that he will go. Personally, I think rounds 3-4. I think he's in that range right now. Someone else may have bigger plans for him, but immediately special teams, we get that. I think immediately he plays nickel dime package where you have you want more speed on the field and maybe a little heft to play the running game because he's 227 pounds. And definitely he can play the spy and dance with any quarterback that you want him to spy. He can go do that and do that right now. So I think that he's more than a story and has been for a long time.
Charles Davis, NFL on Fox. You watched him over the weekend for the NFL Network at the Scouting Combine. Follow him on Twitter for the latest as we lead up to the draft at CFD22. You're my man, brother. Thanks so much, as always, for finding time for us. Great stuff.